A solar panel can sit on a roof for decades, silently turning sunlight into electricity. But here's the odd part. Many panels are used up on paper long before they stop working. So what actually happens at year 25? In most places, there isn't one single ending. There's a quiet sequence of decisions, testing, resale, repair, recycling, or disposal, that depends less on physics and more on money, policy, and logistics. Most people hear 25-year lifespan and assume that's when a panel dies. In reality, 25 years is usually a warranty milestone, not a shutdown date. Manufacturers often guarantee something like 80 to 85% of original output after 25 years, and typical degradation is around 0.5% per year. That means many panels are still useful, just slightly less productive. The central question isn't, do they still work? It's, is it worth keeping them where they are? One reason panels come down is simple economics. If you have limited roof space, a newer panel might produce much more power per square metre than an older one, even if the old one still functions. Large solar farms face a similar choice, sometimes called repowering, replacing older modules to boost output and simplify maintenance. This explains why working panels can become waste. The system is optimized for energy per space and predictable performance, not for squeezing every last watt out of every module. Before anything gets recycled, it often gets tested. The practical question is whether a panel failed or whether something around it failed. A bad connector, a damaged cable, a cracked junction box, or a failing inverter can mimic a dead panel. When panels are removed in bulk, some are sorted for reuse, especially if they still produce close to their rated power. These can end up in smaller installations, off-grid setups, or resale markets where low cost matters more than peak efficiency. Recycling sounds straightforward until you look closely at what a panel is. Most conventional panels are mostly glass and aluminum, with silicon cells and tiny amounts of valuable metals like silver and copper. The hard part is that everything is laminated together with tough plastics designed to survive sun, heat, and moisture for decades. Separating clean glass and recovering materials without contamination takes specialized equipment. You can remove the aluminum frame fairly easily, but getting beyond that is where costs and complexity rise. This is where policy starts to decide outcomes. In the European Union, photovoltaic panels were brought under the WEEE Directive in 2012, which made producers responsible for end-of-life collection and treatment. Organizations like PV Cycle, founded in 2007, helped build collection and recycling routes across Europe. In places without clear rules, old panels can be treated like ordinary construction waste, and the cheapest option tends to win. The same panel can be recycled in one country and landfilled in another, simply because the system around it changes. Here's what's really happening. End of life for solar panels is usually an economic and administrative boundary, not a technical one. A panel rarely flips from useful to useless at year 25. Instead, it crosses a threshold where someone decides the output is no longer worth the space, the labor, or the uncertainty. That's why the afterlife of a panel is so uneven. The question isn't only how long the hardware lasts, it's whether our systems make it easy to test, reuse, and recycle at scale. This matters because the volume is growing. As early generations of solar reach retirement, the world is preparing for a wave of modules coming off roofs and out of fields. The International Renewable Energy Agency projected in 2016 that global solar panel waste could reach tens of millions of tons by 2050 under high adoption scenarios. Whether that becomes a recycling success story or a disposal problem depends on collection networks, standardized designs, and rules that make recycling the default instead of the exception. So the surprising part is that solar panels don't really wear out on schedule, they get negotiated out of service. At year 25, many still work, but the system decides what they're worth. If you like calm explanations of the hidden infrastructure behind everyday technology, consider subscribing to Quietly Explained.